All right, for you parents and coaches out there with knee problems and wish there were things out there many years ago when we were actually playing sports to help prevent injuries, ways to find out, if you potential heavy problems, how you're moving, how you change direction, what's going on to prevent this. Now we've got some solutions for you to help your young athletes, your kids, figure out how to be safer out there so they don't have knees like Bob. Make sure you click and like this. Here we go for the next episode, 36 of the SOA podcast.
The Strength of America podcast.
All right, welcome to episode 36 of Strength of America podcast, the SOA podcast. I'm Bob Davis.
Bobby Davis.
All right, appreciate you guys coming back with us. Sorry, the last couple of weeks we've been crazy with projects, getting some things ready, but we want to get in a little bit for this on twofold for you. We want to address the issue of knee problems and ACL. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. We've done ACL clinics at schools and clubs and programs for sports, for quite a while now, but we're actually putting together, excited about this program. We're going to get completed in the next few weeks. Luckily, we have a clinic coming up, so it's helping Bob crunch the time, make sure he's got everything done and putting the other things on hold. So we'll have that ready for you, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that as the episode goes on how you can get involved with that program. But I think the big part for us is those of you that have followed us for a long time realize that when I started Strength of America back in 1989, I had already had 4 knee and 3 shoulder surgeries by the time I was 21, which no, wasn't 89. That was even earlier than that. But I always wanted to find out, what kind of program we could do. And while I was at the University of Nebraska, strength, performance, that was always great. That's the main focus for everything. But I wanted to find out how do we incorporate some programs to help keep these athletes safer. I was seeing way too many injuries back at that point. But we know back from those days, we saw typically about 75,000 ACL injuries a year. We now, over the last 6-7 years, we're seeing an average of about 250,000 ACL injuries. And that's ridiculous, and it's not just because we have more kids taking part in sport or we have this or that. There's a series of factors that relate to it. But I know some of the bigger things that I've seen throughout the years, and now Bobby's involved, we've looked into it even more, is we've got some real basic things that are involved as to why these things are happening. So the program we've got coming up is going to break down everything on helping our coaches and parents evaluate who's prone to injury, how, what do we look for, how do we test this. It doesn't have to go right to an orthopedic because they don't need them yet, but they have some mechanical issues that are going on, how they run, how they jump, how they move, where there's strength or flexibility imbalances that are there to create. So we want to get some things going. Bobby, on the topic of ACL injuries, what are some of the things that, as you've come along into it, that you've seen that are some obvious factors that once people see it, they can't believe they didn't see it before?
I think right off the top of my head, as I think about that, I think of the age-old volleyball player. You got all your girls, your volleyball players, and when you pay attention, you watch them play, when you watch them squat, or when they just go up for a jump, come down for a landing, you see the knees collapse inside. So right off the top of my head, and if you ever go out and watch sports, whether it's guys or girls are a little more prevalent for it to happen. But it's funny, once you hear that and start to look around for it, how much you actually see it. It's pretty crazy. And people just don't know. So we get bad repetition after bad repetition. And it's not necessarily the big blow, but it's little blows over time that create this issue. So, and outside of that, I think it's just due to, even when I was a kid, we were out doing stuff more often. I see kids nowadays that kids are coming in weaker, can't do simple things like push-ups. They can't skip. They can't do basic coordinated things, sit more, so they're tighter. So we have more issues due to mobility, stability, strength, just good movement.
Yeah, I can tell you a lot of that comes from just through the time going on. I know back in our day, we talked about it, 30, 40 years ago playing sports. Most of us played 3 sports. You'd play a winter, a fall, and a spring sport, and then summer things going on. Now, a lot of these kids are doing one sport year round. They overtrain, they're working certain muscle groups, they neglect others. So we see some problems there. But like Bobby mentioned earlier, it's not just from getting blown out. 70% they've found of these 250,000 injuries are primarily from non-impact. So it wasn't from somebody hitting them from the side. We understand that. Somebody hits from the back or the side of a knee, that's going to destroy a knee. but simply jumping, landing, how they pivot, how they're moving, we're seeing those injuries. And we've all seen them out there with these guys out on the field, on the court. And when we finish a clinic, for example, our basketball and volleyball players you talk about, what's going on? The first thing I hear back afterwards, they email me that next week, is, man, I can't believe how many of these girls or how many of these guys, every time they jump and they land, the knees are buckling in, or they land either straight legged or that knee shoots forward. So these mechanical things, it helps because then they understand we're teaching the program, not that you have to add additional ACL training program on top of your strength training and on top of your speed and power and conditioning and volleyball and basketball and football. We're saying how they move during each of these drills, they get practicing that the correct way. That's when the performance actually increases. They're going to increase their speed, their power, but they're also going to have less chance of injuries. And that's what we're after, is keeping these kids healthy so they can practice longer. So, that's what, when he goes into that specific on how they move and not being strong, let's teach them the right way of doing things so that they can become strong and healthier and have a better time playing sport.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a couple of youth kids that went through some testing for a vertical jump and a broad jump last night, and I had two younger boys, and they're going through and they're going for the broad jump, jump for distance, and the vertical jump, and their knees collapsing. So outside of the safety factor of thinking, long term jumping and landing. Okay, I want to make sure my knees are out. Okay, they're by my foot. I'm in a good, suitable position to be safe, but also to increase my power. I told them simple thing. I said, "Hey, let's get those knees out. Let's focus on pushing the ground away a little bit better." They got their knees out, and kids jumped like 4 inches farther. They jumped an inch higher on their vertical jump. So, we gotta recognize that good movement creates a lot of good things. Good movement creates a lot more safety as we're going through, and it increases performance at the same time. So.
And I think that's what we're after. We want to do that because with our coaches, we got a lot eager to learn and want to pick up things, but the last thing they have time for is add another half hour of conditioning,
Yeah.
an extra half hour, and it's not. They all do jumping drills. They all work on vertical jump. They all work on rebounding things. They work on change of direction, cuts, four corner drills. All we're doing is taking those components and say, okay, here's when you land. Here's where you need to be. We land soft. So as you land, hips move back. So now we do two things. We've landed soft. It's easier on the body and the legs. But now we're also ready to react with power. If we land straight-legged, we can't react until we bend and move and get back after that. We land and we teach them how to move each time, where their head's positioned. Or control the melon, they change direction. If you plant and you move and that head's still bouncing out here, you can't move until you get back correct and move. Now you're slower than everybody else. So it's about being powerful in that movement. And that's where it's not, because it's working on preventing injuries and keep them in there. It's not a soft program. Anybody that's been through our camps will tell you it's not soft camps. They're intense, they work, but our kids know how to move. And that's what we're after. They not only learn how to move, but they're safe. They can play the sport longer. My big thing I've been telling my athletes and Bobby and everybody for years is I will be happy when you guys, our kids, hit that 50s. And the first thing they say when they get up out of the bed is, you know what, Bob, I don't feel like I have your knees. I feel pretty good. That's what I want. I want them to move much better than I do at 50. Those knees, these things hurt after all that work and abuse and things going on. And it's not just because we trained hard all those times. We did a lot of incorrect movements.
Train hard, but train bad.
Yeah, we don't want to train smart as we go through it, how we're really doing it. So that's what we're really going to teach more than anything else.
Yeah.
What are a couple of tests, or what are some of the things that people can look for? And keep in mind, as we go through this and see, we're going to have some follow-up videos and let you know in the next few weeks how you can get a hold of this program that will break down everything for you, video components. You get to see good, bad next to them, everything, so that you really understand this thing. Because our main goal of really setting this program up is so that a parent, anybody, you don't have to have a big background to know, God, is my kid prone to injuries with the knees? What's going on here? What can we do about it? And then showing you some programs on how to get them better. So
yeah.
How do we do that?
First, before we get there, I think, as we talk about this program, this course, oftentimes, like we go to clinics and different people, they go learn different things, and you get all this information. You think, holy cow, you get a dump, and you think you want to just try to do everything at once. And this is what the program's about. The program is more so to help you kind of develop a different idea of thinking about your training, whether it's speed and agility. Everyone says they do speed and agility training, but nobody pays attention to progressions, regressions, mechanics, and how the body moves. So we're just trying to help people develop a little bit more of that coach's eye. We're trying to give them a bigger library to choose from, to pick maybe some smarter choices, okay? Or to give them something extra. Maybe they've done the same thing, it gets stagnant, and they're looking for something else to give them that next little edge. So I think that's a big thing when we come up to this. You know, you don't want to get distracted or think it's too much at once. Just soak in some information and see where certain things can kind of fit with you and your program with your kids.
Perfect.
Now, outside of that, as we're going through, when we talk about just assessments and seeing, um, is that more so your question, just kind of assessments?
Yeah, are a couple of basics. We've got several ways you can test, and we'll show. But
Yeah,
what are a couple of basic things that a parent can look at? Like right now, for example, we do a squat test.
squat and squat.
Just
Yeah,
simply,
yeah,
have your kid in front of you, and this is your athlete, or your son or daughter out there. Just have them squat in front of you.
and even you.
Yeah, you can kind of see what's going on. And if you've had some ACL problem, you do the same thing so you can kind of see, because this is one of the things that we looked at when Bobby, for example, finishing up in high school. I had the kids each go through different internships and find programs to figure out where they really wanted to go. And we were at an address he was doing some physical therapy work, spending some time with a therapist. And great gal, we've known him for a long time. I worked with her boys in the training and stuff, but I hadn't seen him in probably 8 to 10 years. They were in college now. I'd worked with them when they were younger. Well, the one boy had 3 different ACL tears in his college time, late high school, and then into his college years. And they couldn't figure out why it was happening. And each time they finished therapy, they were equal strength, both sides, all that's great. But we took a look at a basic thing. Just let's see how he squats. Well, and every time he squat, that leg that he consistently had problem with would buckle and roll to the inside. They had him stay in that position. So we squat. We should make sure the toes are out just a little bit, but as you squat, those knees follow that direction. The knees don't shoot beyond the toes, so we're back on the heels and we move. From that bottom position, we just have our athlete jump, get as high as they can and land back in the squat. Almost always, you're going to see a leg that'll buckle to the inside, either on the start of the movement or on the landing, it buckles. Now, we talked about 70% of those injuries from non-impact. Those are the ones that come down, jump, and they land, and that leg buckles in and just destroys it. That leg just ruptures. That's what's happened. That's an easy test. If they have something like that all the time, yes, we have to work on some strength in areas, and we'll show you those things. But a biggest thing is making them aware of it. And that's when we finish with these coaches. They get down to the clinic and they go back and look at the athletes. How many of them are doing jumping drills? They never pay attention to what's going on with the legs. They look at how high they're jumping and how quick they're reacting. That's great. But every time if they come in and move, and I've got a volleyball or a basketball player I'm working with right now that, good basketball player, she's moving, but I've watched her with a coach. And every time she gets ready to shoot, the knees actually touch when she pushes off.
Yeah.
And then when she lands, it does it every time. So now what's going to happen if she gets out and her feet are a little wider than when she lands, and those knees have to go in that position
Even deeper.
with
Yeah.
force, she's going to just destroy it.
Yeah.
So these are some things that we can look at, easy things to check. And we don't want to make this too simple that, you fix that and no danger of an ACL. The first thing we tell you guys is, yes, it's about ACL prevention. Doesn't mean you can prevent all injuries. It's just, we put up the title of it because people are Googling how to prevent ACLs, how to prevent knee injuries, okay? And we know you can't prevent everything, but at the same time, we have to put it out there so you know what to look for and what's going on with that. And that's a simple test. We also do things, have them step off a box or step off of a stair and land, see where they're at. Increase body force in those positions, you'll see where they're at. But at the same time of strengthening, we've got to get strong left and right as well as both, because we realize all sport isn't both legs moving.
Yeah.
So we've got to see that. But if they can't jump and land with 2 legs, we don't want them jump and land on 1 leg because they're really going to have problems. So those, I think, are some of the big things. What's another one you talk about? Ankle mobility, something that they can check too.
Simple one is just our half kneeling position. So put one knee on the ground and then one leg's going to be upright. You're going to kind of post up against the wall with your hands. And all you're trying to do is kind of get fist length across here and trying to put that between the wall and your foot. So you want about that fist length to kind of fit between your foot and the wall. Once you go down there, you're on one knee, your hands up against the wall. You're trying to drive your knee to the wall while keeping your heel and your full foot on the ground. If you realize that you can't get that knee to kiss that wall, or if you do and your heel comes up, keep that heel buried in the ground and then try to see how far you can go. If you find out that you only get your knee above your toes and you can't get any farther, or not even to your toes, and you're pretty tight, then that gives you something that you need to be aware of and try to now find a solution to.
And why is that a problem if we've got an ankle? Maybe they have one ankle that's tighter than another, or the ankles don't allow them to bend that way.
Yeah. Well,
What
first
could
of all, if
happen?
we have two, we're going to have a compensation. So if we can't bend there, we're going to end up bending somewhere else up the chain, and now it's not very efficient movement. So now we're going to start to see some irritation somewhere else. Same thing, if I got one side that's tighter than that, I'm probably going to make my body do more work on the good side. So you say, well, that's my bad side. Why does my good side hurt? Well, now it's because we're creating this side of my body to do more of the work instead of displacing the load to make it even across my body. Now I can't make sure it's 50-50 across my body. They're both equal, doing the same amount of work. If it's 70-30, now I'm putting that much more load on that one leg. So now we run into issues there too. And we got to keep in mind that our feet are connected to the ground, the first thing in contact. So if I'm coming down to that ground, I got to make sure I got to bend there first, and then I start bending up the chain. If it doesn't go there, it's got to go somewhere else, and that's not very good.
Yeah, those are basics. I mean, how many of you have actually had the problems with an ankle and had to wear a boot? You wear a boot on that left ankle. What happens later on as you go through that 6 weeks of wearing that boot? You start feeling pressure in the other hip or the other knee or in your back. So the body's going to adjust always, and you may not realize it. Well, now just think of you're just walking feeling that way. Now an athlete that's got that ankle immobility and problems in that one side, they're jumping, moving, strength, moving, all these things over and over. Who do you think is going to be a greater chance of having a problem? That one that's got mobility issues from the feet. So we're addressing things from the feet, how you land, what's going on with the shoes we're taking a look at too, and how you land from that heel to the toe and what's going on from that point.
Yeah.
So there's so many things that reflect on it, but the basic thing, just have them squat, jump and land in a squat. Let's see, are they landing knees forward? Are they landing legs straight? Are they landing with the knee buckling?
I think also outside of that, paying attention when they land, are the knees crashing over toes, or hips going straight down or forward, when really your hips should be sitting back like you're sitting in a chair too. That's another big one. If we start doing that, replacing a lot of load on that patellar tendon and a lot of those different things going on in the knee. So we want to put that load in our hips.
Just a soft landing. And again, with these other ones, you'll get to see a lot more when the program comes out. But that's a basic thing you can check. You don't need that, top physician or anything to figure that out and see what's going on. You know that is. And like always, as we go through this until we get to the program, you want to see right now and they check it, great. Make a comment on here or let us know or email.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you about okay, what's next and what to do. All right, now you find out there's some problems. Obviously, we've got to work on some mobility. So we worked on some stretches and things through there. But what about as they're jumping and landing? I mean, they're doing reps. I mean, is there a number that's okay to do? Can you just do a lot? I mean, we used to do stadium stairs that we thought was increasing power and stamina and speed, but we also realized there's only so many times you should actually move. If you're wanting to produce power, we're not running up 100 steps to produce power. It's not going to work. So there are a certain number of volume that's important, sets and repetitions and what to do. More isn't always better, but the mechanics of seeing how they run it, if they're always running plays, you should do them correctly. Not just running out pattern 5 yards and cut at a 45-degree angle to the right and turn, how you're moving into that position, making a cut so we increase our strength, speed, and power, make a cut explosively through that point, and we protect the knees at the same time. So can they just run as many hills as they want and it's going to help their power, or what do you normally do?
I think we're talking about power and speed, true raw power and speed. If you're doing something like a hill sprint, probably keep it around 5 to 10 yards. But again, as you're going through, maybe you can venture up into that 15, but you just got to keep in mind, and think about time. Did I start to feel as I went through, did I feel more fatigued or not as explosive? If so, then I'm going to cut it back to more that 5 to 10. But it should be something to where, you feel explosive. The intent has to be very high. It has to be purposeful when you move. If I'm going through and I have 5 to 10, obviously it's going to be easy if I don't give it max effort. Okay. If I come up with max effort, good. Now I'm going to take my rest time, get my heart rate back down, and then I'm going to come reset again. So that way I'm ready to roll to be as explosive as I can. Aside of that, for jumps and different things like that, I generally think 1 to 5 jumps continuous in a set, whatever I'm doing, whether it's hurdles, 4 to 5 hurdles out. I don't think if you're going through and you're doing more than that, then obviously you'll start to realize that, this isn't true power. This is more of a power endurance mindset. And I think that's just where, again, people need to go through and realize, okay, if I'm telling a kid, let's say that I'm going to have them do gassers, and that's going to get them faster. Gassers are great to build mental toughness up top, to build conditioning, to build work capacity. But again, if I'm going hard for a long period of time and I'm reset, not getting a lot of rest and going again, my speed's not going to be faster or the same that next time I return. So that's not speed training anymore. So that's what we got to understand. Same thing as we're going into jumps. Let's say I'm having a kid do 20 jumps as they're going through. Then as I'm going through, I'm obviously going to have to realize that, okay, as I'm going past a certain number, I'm starting to see that they're starting to drop as far as their jumps. They're no longer getting as high and they're not getting set as they're going through. So we have to realize that, all right, what is my goal today? Is my goal power? If so, I want it short. I want it sweet. I want it explosive, big intent, and I'm going to give them a little bit of rest. But if I'm going for more of a power endurance, then I have to realize that, because especially if kids know that they're going to have to do a lot of reps as they're going through, they're going to start to set kind of a coast. They're going to set that cruise control. But now if they know that it's shorter, intent's probably going to go up. It's probably going to be a lot bigger jumps, a lot harder sprints as they're going through. So again, you just got to think about what you're doing and why, and ask yourself before you get set and rolling on it.
And I think the big thing we've always talked about with coaches is trying to figure out, or a parent even trying to help with some conditioning or extra work. It's off season. Take a look at what you're thinking. You guys are always videotaping these games. That's a great way to set up. What's your intervals? What's going on with the speed? Basketball, for example. How much time do they take? They sprint down to the other field. How long does that take? When they get to the end, how many times do they jump up and down? And yet we see some practices where they do a sprint and they're jumping 5, 10 times, and they sprint again and jump. They don't do that in a game. Even volleyball, where they may have to go up and they're going to block. They may have to do 2.
Yeah.
But how many times do you see them do 5, 6 times in a row? So think about what they're doing, and they've got to get a hard movement up to that position, because yes, we can't just stand and work vertical and that's it. An athlete's about movement. So even volleyball, no, I don't have to run 20 yards to get down to the other side of the court or anything else to get to that point to move, but I've got to take 3 to 4 steps and go and then drop and get back into position and move. Simulate the stuff that they're doing to put it in, and that's how you can create some new drills or anything else, but it gives you a good idea of what kind of time frame they need to do. They don't need to do these long sprints. That's like having our linemen, testing 40-yard speed and hundreds and all that. Why? What are you really trying to do? And running conditioning programs that way. So take a look at some of the things they're doing and why, but the volume, put it in perspective, I think is great. I mean, we want to do vertical jump. That doesn't mean we have to do 100 jumps to increase vertical. We're going to lose power. We're not going to gain power out of that. So we're better off shortening those numbers a little bit. So we're going to get into some of those and things with the program as well. But the evaluation to me is an important part, seeing who's prone and who potentially could have problems. And then even if they don't, we still have to put the basics into how they change direction. So we've got some good drills, not only increasing vertical and rebounding, but how they change direction, how they make a cut, stability in the body, because I think that's the biggest part, because we don't always work on that playing field that's just right. We may land on somebody else's foot, or you go up, you've got a jumping drill and the partner's pushing you in how you land, because that's the game. I don't think there's soccer or anything else. You go up and jump and you move and they hit and they collide and come back down. You've got to be stable and be able to ready to move again. So those are some of the drills that we'll put onto it as well. Get some more things on the ACL, or let's be in basics.
Awesome. That's probably pretty good for now.
Yeah. So I think we hit the basic stuff. Now, a couple things I want you thinking about. December 8th, for those coaches, whether you're a strength coach, speed coach, football coach, soccer, doesn't make any difference what sport you're involved in. You want to learn more about, for our section, ACL injury prevention, but also we've got more expanded things for athletes as well. December 8th at Mesa Community College, and we'll have the link below for you guys as well. The Arizona State Board has asked Bobby and I to present for their annual state clinic for the National Strength and Conditioning Association. So we're excited about doing that for them and getting the information out. So we decided this year for that talk, we want to tie this in with our product going out in ACL prevention. So as part of the clinic going to that, you're going to get this program for free. So we're going to put that out just for the extra, for you guys being there and taking the time to come out and do that. Now, college students, you don't have to be an NSCA member. Even coaches, you don't have to. They've got different rates for that one-day clinic they're doing, and we've got some top people out there that are going to be at the clinic. There's a lot of great information. So this, you'll be able to go right to the link, see all the presenters, what they're doing, how you can sign up for that as well. And I think for college students, it's like $25 for the whole day. So they've got a great program for you guys to get in there. But the link is there. You can get the stuff set. The other part is that's also when I'm setting the deadline to get this program cranked out and get the website done. We've got all the videos and things done and edited, so now I'm just putting that together. So we'll have that for you guys as well. So if you're not attending, we'll let you know how you can take advantage of that and make sure your coaches are there. So if you guys would, please, we'd appreciate it. Take this, share it with somebody you know who's already got some knee problems. Doesn't have to be the kids. I'm talking coaches and parents, where again, I know I would have loved to have had this information 40 plus years ago before I started really having all my knee problems that were out there. But again, that's why we're here. That's why I got so involved in the program, to try and keep these athletes safe. You guys are the ways to help me actually keep them safe, by the parents and coaches that take that next level beyond just conditioning. But let's keep them healthy so they enjoy it at the same time. Doesn't mean it's soft. It means we're just taking that extra time to do it with them and make the workouts more efficient. So please like it, share it. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to have more videos going out as well. Bobby and I are going to start getting out to more weekly videos. We're going to try and get at least 2 to 4 videos weekly for you. We'll do the one podcast, but these other videos are on tips on training mechanics, strength training, flexibility, eating, all kinds of things we're going to put out. So we're going to volume's going to increase quite a bit this winter for you as we get that program as well. So
Awesome.
got them? Good.
Got 'em.
All right. Thanks again. Appreciate it. Like shag. Let's not shag. Let's share, and then we'll tag them. All right. All right. Appreciate you guys. You guys all have a safe Thanksgiving, and get that protein out there. And let us know if you have questions on the knee stuff. All right.
All right. Happy holidays. Take care.
Thanks, guys.